On the coldest night of her life, Ilara Wynne collapsed on a lonely road, bruised, abandoned, and moments away from death. But fate had other plans. A shadow carriage stopped. King stepped out. And the moment he touched her, the seal on her soul cracked, unleashing a magic that could save or destroy the world. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from right now? I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Snow drenched the ground in thick, heavy layers, swallowing the world in white silence. Ilara Wynne had been walking for hours, not because she had a destination, but because she had nowhere left to go. Her husband had made sure of that. "Get out," Marcus had told her earlier that evening, cold fury in his voice. "I'm done wasting my life with someone who can't even give me a child." He had shoved her into the snow before she could protest. Her knees hit the frozen ground with a painful crack, and she remembered looking up at him. His face twisted with disgust, as if even seeing her breathe offended him. "Marcus, please. It's late. It's freezing. Let me get my coat," she had whispered, her teeth rattling. "Why? It's not like you're useful for anything else," he snapped. "You're cursed. Everyone knows it. You bring misfortune wherever you go." The door slammed. The lock clicked. And that was it. 7 years of marriage reduced to a handful of cruel words, and a door shutting her out like she was garbage. Now, she wandered through the dark forest road that bordered the human realm and the forgotten lands, places parents warned children never to explore. But what choice did she have? Her breath came out in white clouds. Her fingers were numb. She couldn't feel her feet anymore. Every step felt like a battle she was losing. She stopped near a crooked signpost buried in snow. It didn't have words. Only a strange symbol burned into the wood. A crescent moon tangled with thorns. Ilara blinked at it, trying to focus, but her vision blurred. "Just a little rest," she whispered to herself. She sank onto a half-broken wooden bench near the tree line. The cold stabbed through her thin sweater, hugging her bones, gnawing at her strength. She lifted her hands in front of her face. Bruises. Dark, finger-shaped marks left by Marcus the last time he'd lost patience. She lowered her hands and tried not to cry. The world around her grew quieter, colder, darker. Her eyelids drooped. Maybe it would be easier if she stopped fighting. Maybe Marcus had been right. Maybe she really was cursed. The woman who couldn't give him a child. The woman who ruined everything she touched. The woman no one wanted. Her thoughts became slow, heavy. Snowflakes landed on her eyelashes. Her head tilted forward. A deep rumbling sound cut through the silence. Wheels. Metal. Hooves. A carriage, large, heavy, moving too smoothly for any mortal construction. It came from the shadows between the trees, its frame carved from onyx black wood. The horses pulling it were enormous, their eyes glowing like lit coals. Ilara forced her head up. A tall figure walked in front of the carriage, leading it with steady, purposeful steps. He wore a long dark cloak lined with silver thread. Snow clung to his shoulders, melting the moment it touched him. Then he lifted his head. Black hair, pale skin, eyes like molten silver, bright, glowing faintly in the night. He was too beautiful, too terrifying, too unreal, not human. The man slowed, his gaze locking onto her. For a heartbeat, she thought he would walk past, another powerful stranger with more important things to do. Instead, he stopped in front of her. He looked at her like she wasn't a frozen stranger on a bench, but something he needed to understand. "You're dying," he said in a deep, smooth voice. Ilara blinked weakly. "I'm fine." It was a lie, and they both knew it. He stepped closer, snow crunching beneath his boots. Behind him, the carriage doors opened. 4 young faces peeked out. Children silent as shadows, watching her with glowing eyes. "Do you have a coat?" the man asked. Ilara shook her head. His expression shifted, a flicker of something dark, like anger held tightly under control. "Who left you out here like this?" he demanded. She swallowed. "It doesn't matter." It matters, he said softly. His silver eyes lowered to her bruised wrists. She flinched and pulled her hands into her lap. He didn't comment. Instead, he unclasped his cloak, thick, warm, lined with soft fur, and wrapped it over her shoulders. She stiffened. I can't take this. You can, he said gently. And you will. His tone wasn't unkind, but it held a weight she couldn't fight. Let me take you somewhere warm. There's an inn 2 streets away, he continued. My children and I can escort you safely. Ilara shook her head. I don't have money to pay. I didn't ask for payment. She stared at him, confused. Why help me? The man held her gaze, the silver in his eyes shimmering like distant stars. Because no one deserves to die alone in the snow, he said quietly. And because someone has hurt you badly. Ilara's throat tightened. He knelt slightly. Eye level now, gentle despite his otherworldly presence. My name is Kale, he said. Kale Riven. The name stirred something in her memory. Legend. A warning. The Shadow Emperor. Ruler of the Umbral Dominion. A place mortals feared more than death itself. Her breath caught. You're. Yes. His voice held no pride. Only truth. He extended his hand. Come with us. You have my word you will not be harmed. Ilara looked at his outstretched hand. At his children watching her from the carriage. At the road behind her, where no one would come. At the bruises on her wrists. At the snow trying to claim her. She took a trembling breath. And placed her cold hand in his. His fingers wrapped around hers, warm and steady. Good, Kale murmured, helping her stand. You're safe now. For the first time in years. She felt the tiniest spark of hope. Ilara drifted in and out of consciousness as the carriage moved. Felt like floating inside a warm cocoon. Kale's cloak wrapped around her like a shield, and the warmth of the children, unnatural yet comforting, filled the space. Every time she opened her eyes, one of them was watching her. Not with fear or hatred, just curiosity. The youngest, a girl with dark curls, whispered, She's cold. Father, she's very cold. She won't be for long, Kale replied. His voice was close, warm, protective in a way she didn't understand. At some point she whispered, Where are we going? To my home, Kale answered. To the Umbral Citadel. Ilara's heartbeat stumbled. That's not in the mortal realm. No, Kale confirmed. But you will be safe there. The carriage passed through a shimmering veil of silver fog, and the world changed. When she opened her eyes again, she saw it. A vast obsidian fortress rising into the sky, lit by floating blue flames that moved like fireflies. 3 moons hung above the citadel, one crimson, one pale white, one deep violet. This wasn't her world. This place belonged to legends, to nightmares. Kale lifted her from the carriage with ease. She was too weak to protest. Don't be afraid, he whispered. But how could she not be? Inside the citadel, the halls were lined with black crystal and silver runes. Shadows moved along the walls like living things. And standing beside Kale were 3 pale healers with glowing eyes. The eldest healer stepped forward. She is mortal. Yes, Kale said. And injured, the healer added, eyes narrowing at the bruises. Who harmed her? Kale's jaw tightened. That no longer matters. Her safety does. Ilara swallowed. The healers lifted her onto a soft bed in a strange room filled with humming cymbals. She tried to sit up but fell back. Kale moved closer. You are safe, he repeated. Rest. One of the healers gently brushed her hair away from her neck and froze. Emperor, she whispered. Look. Kale leaned in, his eyes narrowing. On Ilara's collarbone, beneath the skin, a faint symbol glowed, like lines of soft gold, arranged in a crescent shape. What is that? Ilara whispered, panic rising. The healer spoke carefully. This is no birthmark. This is an ancient seal. Kale's eyes sharpened. How old? Older than the Dominion, the healer murmured. Older than the Shadowborn. This seal is meant to suppress something powerful. Ilara felt the room spin. Suppress what? The healers exchanged uneasy glances. Kale stepped closer, voice low. Ilara, did you ever feel different? Like something inside you was being held back? Ilara thought of the years of weakness. The pain in her chest. The way she sometimes felt like part of her was missing. Yes, she whispered. Kale's expression darkened. Someone sealed your true nature. But why? I'm no one. No, he said softly. You are something far more. Ilara's breath shook. My husband said I was cursed. That I was barren. That I ruined. That man was a fool, Kale cut in sharply. He saw only what the seal made you appear to be. The healer nodded. The seal suppresses more than power. Suppresses physical abilities, emotional stability, fertility, survival energy. It is a prison. Ilara stared at them, stunned. So it wasn't my fault, she whispered. All those years he said I was broken. All that time he blamed me. Kale's eyes softened in a way that made her chest ache. None of this was your fault, he said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. She quickly wiped them away, embarrassed. Kale noticed, but he didn't comment. Instead, he said, you will stay here until you've recovered. This citadel has 1,000 rooms, but not all are safe. My children will keep you company. Ilara blinked. Your children? As if waiting for the cue, for small figures peeked from behind the doorframe. The youngest girl waved shyly. Hi! Ilara's lips trembled into the smallest, weakest smile. Hello. They like you, Kale said. Why? Ilara asked, confused. Kale's voice softened. Because they can sense purity and warmth, he said. Something they have not felt in a very long time. Ilara lay back, exhausted, but for the first time in years, she didn't feel completely alone. Kale turned to leave but paused. Ilara, he said quietly. If anyone in this realm seeks to harm you, they will answer to me. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Ilara stared up at the dark ceiling, listening to the faint hum of magic around her. She didn't know where she was. She didn't understand why she was here. But as exhaustion pulled her back into sleep, one thing was clear. Her life had changed forever. Not sunlight. This world didn't seem to have any. But a gentle heat that pulsed against her skin, steady and comforting. She opened her eyes to find herself covered with a thick blanket the color of midnight. Soft blue flames floated in crystal lanterns shaped like teardrops, casting calm, shifting light over the room. For a few seconds she forgot where she was. Then she heard the voices. She's still asleep, whispered a young girl. That's what happens when mortals almost freeze. A boy replied matter-of-factly. You heard father. She was dying. Another voice, older, deep, said, give her space. Ilara blinked, fully awake. For children stood at the foot of her bed like curious ghosts. When they saw her eyes open, they froze. As if moving too quickly might make her disappear. The youngest girl stepped forward. Dark curls. Huge silver-rimmed eyes. Good morning, she whispered shyly. Ilara pushed herself up, gently. Good morning. Are you still cold? Asked a tall boy, probably the oldest. He carried himself with a quiet seriousness that reminded her of Kale. No, Ilara said softly. Thank you. I'm warm now. That answer made the youngest girl beam. The older boy inhaled sharply. I told you she'd wake soon. You didn't tell us anything, another boy said, rolling his eyes. He had messy hair and a mischievous smirk. You were just pacing like you always do. Before they could begin bickering, the door slid open. Kale Riven entered the room. His presence changed the atmosphere immediately. Shadows seemed to shift toward him as if greeting their king. His silver eyes swept over Ilara, studying her carefully. Checking the color of her cheeks, the steadiness of her breath, the strength in her posture. How do you feel? He asked. Ilara pulled the midnight-colored blanket closer around her shoulders. Better. Still tired. But not broken. Something softened in Cale's expression, almost too quickly to catch. That's good, he said. You will regain strength. You were exposed to cold too long. Her gaze drifted toward the strange symbol she'd glimpsed on her collarbone last night. The seal, she whispered. Is that why I've always felt sick? Why everything felt heavy? Why Marcus said I was useless? Sharp anger flashed across Cale's eyes, but he held it back. Yes, he said carefully. The seal suppresses life energy. It weakens the body, dims the mind. It can even damage, he hesitated, as if choosing words that wouldn't hurt her. Damage the ability to have children, she finished for him. Cale nodded slowly. Ilara swallowed hard, gripping the blanket. So Marcus hated me for something that wasn't even real. He blamed you for something he did not understand, Cale said quietly. And perhaps something he preferred not to understand. Her breath trembled. Why would anyone seal me, she whispered. I'm nobody. I'm just Ilara. Cale began to respond, but the healer from before entered the room, silver hair braided down her back. My emperor, she said, bowing. We have finished our study of the seal. Cale gestured for her to continue. The healer approached Ilara slowly, kneeling beside the bed so she could speak gently, eye to eye. This seal, she said, touching her collarbone lightly, is ancient, very ancient. Its creation predates even the Shadowborn. It is drawn from radiance magic, light magic, once wielded by the Lightbearer Queen. Ilara stared at her. What does that mean? It means, the healer said, choosing words carefully, you may be one of her descendants. Ilara blinked. Descendant? Me? That's not possible. My family was poor. My parents were ordinary. Ordinary blood cannot hide this seal, the healer murmured. Your lineage is old. And powerful. A heavy silence filled the room. Cale stepped closer. Ilara, he said softly, do you feel anything unusual? Strength. Warmth. A pull inside your chest. Ilara hesitated. She did. Ever since waking, something in her chest felt alive. Like a small spark waiting to become flame. A gentle hum lived beneath her skin, warm, comforting but unfamiliar. I don't understand any of this, she whispered. You don't need to understand it yet, Cale said. You only need to know you are safe here. And that you are not what that man told you you were. Her eyes stung. Cale's voice lowered even more. Not broken. Not cursed. Not barren. Nothing he said was the truth. A shaky breath escaped her lips. The healer rose. We will monitor her. The seal will weaken over time. The magic inside her may grow. Cale nodded. Ensure her comfort. The children watched silently, their silver eyes reflecting the floating flames. Finally, the smallest girl spoke. Does that mean she has magic like us? Cale answered slowly. Not like ours, but something very old. Very bright. The girl smiled. Ilara found herself smiling back, though she didn't know why. Cale stepped back toward the door. You are safe here, he repeated. Rest. When you wake again, my children will show you the citadel. As he left, Ilara felt the warmth in her chest return, stronger than before. Something inside her was beginning to wake. Something she didn't yet understand, but something ancient, and undeniably hers. The next time Ilara woke, she felt stronger, not fully healed but less fragile. Her head was clear. Her limbs didn't tremble. Her breath felt easier. Someone had left a tray of warm food on a nearby table. Soup, soft bread, and something that smelled like spiced fruit. Her body begged her to eat it all, but before she could reach for the tray, knock knock knock, a set of quick, excited taps on her door. Then whispering, you knock too loud. No, you knock too quiet. Shoo. She'll hear us. She's supposed to hear us, Ash. The door opened slightly. for children peeked in. Ilara laughed before she could stop herself. Yes, she asked. The door flew open, and they rushed in like a gust of wind. We brought you something. Ash, the mischievous one, announced proudly. It's nothing big, the quiet boy mumbled, holding a folded blanket. Father said mortals get cold more easily. Ilara took the blanket gently. Thank you. That's very thoughtful. The youngest girl, Lyria, tugged on Ilara's hand. Do you want to see the gardens? You can walk, right? Ash added. Father said not to push you, but you look like you can stand. Ilara smiled warmly. I think I can. She pushed herself up slowly. The children stayed close on each side as if ready to catch her if she stumbled. The eldest boy, Arian, watched her carefully. Tell us if you feel dizzy. Mortal bodies are fragile. Lara nodded. I will. They guided her through several long hallways, each one more breathtaking than the last. Walls shimmered like black mirrors. Warm lights floated like tiny stars. Intricate white runes glowed faintly beneath their feet. What is this place? Ilara whispered. Our home, said the quiet boy, Kilian. The Umbral Citadel. It's very beautiful, she murmured. Sh grinned. Wait until you see the night garden. They reached a tall archway. When the doors opened, Ilara gasped. The garden was enormous, filled with flowers that glowed in soft blues, purples and silvers. The petals shimmered like moonlit water. Strange trees grew with dark bark and silver leaves that tinkled gently when touched by wind. It's magical, Ilara whispered. It only grows under the 3 moons, Lyria said proudly. Normal plants die here. Ilara walked slowly through the garden, feeling safer than she'd felt in years. The children stayed close. Ash picked a glowing flower and held it out. This one matches your eyes. Ilara accepted it carefully. The petals were cool and soft. Do mortals have gardens like this? Kilian asked. No, Ilara said softly. Nothing like this. Lyria tugged her sleeve. Can you tell us a story? Father never tells stories. He says he's too busy. Arian frowned. Father does tell stories. They're just very serious. They're boring, Ash corrected. Tell us a mortal one. Ilara sat down on a nearby bench that sparkled like polished crystal. The children gathered around her eagerly. She took a breath. Once, she began, there was a little girl who believed she was unlucky. Everything she touched went wrong. Or so she thought. The children leaned in. One day, she met a wise old woman who said, Child, do you know why you feel unlucky? And the girl said, Because nothing ever goes right for me. But the old woman shook her head. What did she say? Lyria whispered. She said, Sometimes the world hides your gifts until the right people come along. Silence settled over the children. Ash blinked. Did the girl find the right people? Ilara smiled. Eventually, yes. It was only half a story, yet somehow it made her chest warm. Ash flopped back dramatically. I like that story. Better than Father's stories about treaties and battles. Everything he says is about treaties and battles, Kilian muttered. Arian straightened, looking slightly offended. He is an emperor. It's his job. Boring job, Ash mumbled. You're 10, Arian shot back. Everything is boring to you. Ilara laughed softly. Her heart felt lighter than it had in years. A sudden, cold silence spread across the garden. The children went still. Kale appeared at the entrance. He wasn't angry, but something in his expression was sharp, like a warning blade. You all disobeyed me. Gulp. We didn't. Not really. We just borrowed her, Lyria whispered. Kale approached slowly, his gaze moving from each child to Ilara. I said she needed rest. She can walk now, Arian said defensively. She's stronger, Kilian added. Kale exhaled, long and tired. Then he turned to Ilara. Are they bothering you? He asked quietly. No, Ilara said at once. Not at all. They're kind. The children relaxed at her words. Kale's expression softened too. He looked at them with a complex mixture of irritation and love, something Elara hadn't expected from a feared emperor. "Very well," he murmured. "But the healers want to examine her again." Lyria grabbed Elara's hand. "Will you come back to the garden?" Elara smiled. "Yes, I'd like that." The children grinned happily and hurried off, whispering about snacks and sketches and who would sit next to her next time. Kale watched them go, then looked back at Elara. "They like you," he said quietly. Elara brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "They're wonderful. Very sweet." "They were not like this before," Kale said. His eyes traced her face with calm intensity. "Since their mother died, they hardly spoke. They kept their distance from everyone. Even from me." Elara's heart tightened. "I'm sorry. You don't need to be." Kale looked away briefly, then back at her. "I only meant that your presence changes things." She felt her breath catch. Kale stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You bring something they have not felt in a long time. Something the seal could not hide." "What is that?" she whispered. "Light," he said simply. "Warmth. Life." Her heart thudded. Kale held her gaze for a long moment before stepping back. "Come," he said softly. "The healers are waiting. And I want you to understand the truth of what lives inside you." Elara followed him through the shimmering halls, her hand resting over her collarbone, over the place where her hidden power stirred like a rising dawn. Something inside her was awakening. And it was only the beginning. The umbral citadel felt different the next morning. Elara sensed it before she even opened her eyes. Something in the air had changed, an electric heaviness, like the moment before a storm breaks. The room was dim, lit only by the soft pulsing glow of the floating blue lanterns. She sat up slowly, her body still tired but not as weak as before. Her fingertips tingled with warmth, a sign the seal on her collarbone continued to weaken. Every day she felt more strength, more clarity, more of something rising inside her, something alive. She wrapped a robe around her shoulders and stepped toward the window. The citadel's sky shimmered with streaks of silver clouds drifting across the 3 moons. Below, the gardens glowed faintly, but today the shadows seemed restless. They curled and stretched, shifting like living mist. A knock sounded at the door. She opened it expecting the children. Instead, Kale stood there. He was dressed not in soft robes but in his imperial armor, black metal threaded with silver veins of power. A heavy cloak draped across one shoulder. His expression was sharper, more controlled, hiding something under the surface. "Good morning," she said cautiously. "Did you rest?" His voice was calm but tight. "Yes." "Is something wrong?" Kale didn't reply immediately. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. Shadows followed him like obedient hounds, curling near his boots. "Elara," he said quietly, "there is something you must know." Her stomach tensed. "About the seal." "In part," he said. "But more than that. About the Dominion." He gestured for her to sit, and she followed him to a low obsidian table. Kale sat across from her, his silver eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "There are those in my court," he began carefully, "who dislike mortals, who dislike anything that might disrupt the fragile balance of power." Elara frowned. "Because of me?" "Because you are unexpected," Kale said. "A mortal woman with light-bearer blood is not something they ever imagined." She swallowed. "Are they afraid of me?" Kale hesitated. "Some are afraid. Some are angry. And some are curious in ways I do not trust." A chill ran down Elara's spine. "Why?" she asked. Kale exhaled slowly. "Lightbearer magic vanished 3,000 years ago. The Shadowborn believe they replaced it. That they no longer need the old ways." His eyes narrowed. "But the Lightbearer line was prophesied to return one day. To challenge the darkness. To heal what was broken. To unite the realms." Elara's hands trembled on her lap. "But I don't know anything about magic, or healing, or prophecy. I know, Kale said gently. But prophecies are rarely concerned with your comfort. She tried to laugh, but her breath came out shaky. Kale leaned forward, resting his hands on the table. Ilara, he said softly. Since the moment you arrived, the Dominion has felt unsettled. Shadows move differently. Words pulse unpredictably. Old runes flare with power. You have awakened something simply by being here. Her throat tightened. Are you saying I'm causing trouble? I am saying you are changing things, Kale corrected. And change always brings trouble. Before Ilara could respond, the floating lanterns flickered. Just once, but enough to make both of them look up. Kale went still. That, he said quietly, is what concerns me. What was it? An omen, he said. A small one but real. As if on cue, a shadow slid across the ceiling, rippling like a dark wave. Kale rose instantly. Stay behind me. His voice had changed, low, commanding, dangerous. Ilara stood too, heart-pounding. But the shadow dissolved, leaving the room still. Kale exhaled, forcing himself to relax. I've strengthened the Citadel's protections, he said. But something stirs in the far realms. My scouts speak of a presence, old and restless. Is it because of me? She whispered. Perhaps, he said honestly. Or perhaps you have simply arrived at a time when destiny begins to turn. He moved closer. Ilara, you must understand something clearly. His voice softened. You are not a burden. You are not a danger. The danger comes from others who fear your potential, not from you. A small warmth bloomed in her chest. Thank you, she whispered. Kale studied her face, then said, I will keep you safe, whatever comes. He said it like a vow. Promise. Truth. Before Ilara could reply, the door burst open. Arian stood there, breathless. Father, he shouted. You need to come now. Kale stiffened. What happened? Arian's voice trembled. The Senate is fighting. They say the mortal should be removed from the Citadel. They say she's dangerous. Kale's eyes darkened into shadow. Stay here, he told Ilara. But I will not let them harm you. He vanished in a swirl of black mist, faster than wind. Ilara's heart hammered wildly. The Dominion was stirring, and she was at the center of it. While Kale confronted the Senate, far from the umbral Dominion, in the mortal realm, a man slammed a glass onto a wooden counter hard enough to make several patrons jump. Marcus Hale. Ilara's husband. Or rather, her former husband. He glared at the bartender, whose hands trembled as he dried a mug. Tell me again, Marcus hissed. What did they say? The bartender swallowed. Just rumors, Marcus. Travelers talk too much. Tell me, Marcus growled. The bartender hesitated, then leaned in. They said a woman was seen entering the fog between the realms. Marcus stiffened. Describe her. Blonde hair. Looked sickly. Like she'd been out in the cold too long. Marcus's pulse raced. Lara. But the man continued. Travelers claimed a shadow carriage picked her up. Big one. Black as midnight. With glowing eyes. Marcus's eyes widened. A carriage with glowing eyes. Marcus, the bartender whispered. They say, the Shadow Emperor took her. A dangerous silence filled the bar. Marcus's fingers tightened on his drink. The Shadow Emperor. The feared ruler of the vampire realm. Why would he take a mortal? Why would he take Ilara? Unless Ilara mattered. Unless she had something valuable. Something Marcus didn't know about. A bitter smile curled across Marcus's lips. So she was worth something after all, he muttered. After all these years. He stood abruptly, tossing coins on the counter. Marcus didn't care how strong the Emperor was. Didn't care how dangerous the Dominion might be. No one took what belonged to him. Not even a king. But as Marcus walked home through the dark streets, something shifted in the air. A cold wind spiraled around him, thick with the scent of sulfur. His breath frosted midair. "What is this?" he whispered. A voice answered. A voice like rusted metal scraping across stone. "Marcus Hale." Shadows rose from the ground, twisting into a tall figure. Humanoid but wrong. Too thin. Too sharp. Eyes glowing coal red. Marcus froze. What are you?" The creature smiled. "Opportunity." Marcus took a step back. "Stay away from me." The creature slid forward effortlessly, towering over him. "You want something," it said, its voice curling like smoke. "You want it badly." Marcus clenched his fists. "I want my wife." "Your mortal wife," the creature murmured. "The one now living in the Shadow Emperor's arms." Marcus's face twisted. "She should be with me." The creature tilted its head. "You want her returned to you?" "Yes." "And you want the Emperor, your rival, brought to his knees?" "Yes." The creature's grin widened. "Then we can help each other." Marcus blinked. "Why would you help me?" "Because," the creature whispered, "I want entrance to the Dominion. The Shadow Emperor bars my kind. His wards choke us like chains." "Lean closer." "But with you, a mortal connected to someone inside, we can break through." Marcus licked his lips. "What would I have to do?" "Accept my mark," the creature said. "A small bond. Nothing more. It will give you strength, power. Enough to challenge even an emperor." Marcus hesitated. But the creature spoke again, sharper. "She belongs to you, does she not?" Marcus's jaw clenched. "Yes." "And he stole her?" "Yes." "Then take her back." Marcus's eyes darkened with greed and wounded pride. "What kind of power?" he whispered. The creature extended a hand made of roiling shadow and flame. "The kind that kills kings." Marcus grabbed it. The seal burned into his skin like molten metal. He screamed, but the scream twisted into laughter as power flooded him. Strength, speed, darkness, hunger. The creature faded into smoke. "You will go after her," it whispered. "After the light-bearer." Marcus blinked. "What?" But the creature vanished before he could ask more. Breath shaking, Marcus looked down at his palm. A black mark pulsed there, alive, ancient, and hungry. He felt a voice whisper inside his head. "Find her. Take her back. She is yours." Marcus smiled, a cruel, triumphant smile. "Ilara," he murmured. "You thought you could run from me? Thought you could find a better life?" He laughed, low and bitter. "You have no idea who you belong to." With newfound power crackling through him, Marcus marched toward the fog between realms, toward the umbral dominion, and toward the woman who would never be free of him. Not if he had anything to say about it. The next morning felt wrong. Ilara sensed it the moment she woke, before she ate breakfast, before she went to meet the children, before she stepped into the glowing hallway outside her room. The citadel felt like it was holding its breath. Even the runes carved into the walls flickered uneasily, glowing brighter, then dimmer, as if the stones themselves were afraid. When she reached the central hall, the children rushed to her immediately. Lyria clung to her hand. "Something is strange today." Arian nodded tightly. "The wards are straining. Father has locked down 3 wings of the citadel." Ash added in a whisper. "The shadows won't stay still. They keep moving like they're nervous." Ilara crouched to meet their eyes. "Stay close to me, all right?" They nodded, small and brave. But their glowing eyes told her everything she needed to know. They were frightened. Before she could comfort them, the torches lining the hallway flared, blue flames shooting high like a warning signal. A deep voice echoed through the halls. "Ilara Wynn. Show yourself." Ilara's breath froze. That voice. That horrible, familiar voice. Marcus. She felt her stomach twist. The children stiffened behind her. Arian grabbed her wrist. "Stay behind us." "No," she whispered. "I won't let him hurt you." But the boy's grip tightened like steel. "We're not protecting you," Arian said. "We're doing what Father taught us." You shield what is precious. Ilara's throat tightened, but she had no time to respond. The ground trembled. A thick crack split the air as a powerful blast shook the citadel walls. Lanterns swung violently. Shadows scattered in panic. Runes flared, trying to reinforce the collapsing barrier. Another boom. Then a third. Lyria screamed and hid her face against Ilara's waist. She wrapped her arms around the girl protectively. From down the hall, a wave of black mist rolled toward them. Kale materialized out of the shadows. His cloak alive with power, eyes blazing silver. "Ilara!" he breathed in relief. "Children! Father!" she yelled. "The wards!" "I know!" Kale swept forward, placing himself between Ilara and the entrance hall. "The citadel is under attack." Ilara swallowed hard. "By who?" Kale's jaw clenched. "By something that has no right to enter this realm." Another explosion thundered through the citadel. This time the walls cracked. Cold air blasted through the hall. And then, a massive set of obsidian doors at the far end of the corridor split open as if ripped by invisible hands. Marcus stepped inside. But he was no longer human. His hair hung in wild, greasy strands. His eyes glowed sickly red, swirling unnaturally. Black veins crawled across his skin. A twisted mark pulsed on his palm, bubbling like boiling tar. The demonic bargain was etched into his flesh. Ilara felt her heart hammering against her ribs. "Marcus," she whispered. He smiled, a smile that made her blood run cold. "There you are, sweetheart." Kale stepped in front of her instantly, shadows gathering around him like a cloak of living armor. "Do not speak to her," Kale growled. Marcus laughed. "I'm not speaking to you, monster." "You should be," Kale said. "You are trespassing in my domain. You have brought corruption into my home. And you dare to threaten my—" He cut himself off. Marcus's grin widened. "You're what?" "Your mortal pet." The children hissed in unison. A low primal sound. Kale's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "Leave. Now." "No," Marcus snarled. "I came for my wife." Ilara's breath caught. "I am not your—" Marcus lifted his marked palm. A surge of dark energy exploded outward. Kale blocked it with a wall of shadow, but the force slammed him backward several steps. The citadel floor cracked beneath him. The children screamed. Lyria clung to Ilara's leg. Marcus pointed at Ilara, ignoring everyone else. "Come with me now," he said, "or I will tear this entire place apart to reach you." Ilara stepped back, trembling. You made a deal with something evil." Marcus's eyes flickered. "I made a deal to get you back." "You left me to die," she cried. "You're mine," Marcus shouted. "And I will take back what's mine." "No," Kale's voice echoed like thunder. Shadows burst from him, swirling violently. The Emperor's power crackled like a storm ready to destroy. "You will not touch her," Kale snarled. Marcus lunged forward, moving in a blur, demon-enhanced speed turning him into a streak of darkness. But he didn't reach Ilara, because 4 small bodies stepped in front of her. Arian, Killian, Lyria. Their eyes blazed pure silver. Marcus froze, stunned. What are these things?" he spat. Arian stepped forward. "We are his children," she hissed, fangs flashing. "Touch her and die." Killian's voice was cold as winter. "You do not belong here." And Lyria, sweet little Lyria, let out a trembling whisper. "She's ours." Marcus snarled and charged. And everything shattered. A ripple hit Ilara's chest. Light erupted from her collarbone. Bright, hot, burning. The seal cracked. The ancient glyph on her skin split open like breaking glass. Power flooded her veins. Warm. Radiant. Alive. "Stop!" Her voice thundered through the hall. A shockwave exploded outward from her body. Pure white light. Marcus was thrown across the room, slamming into a pillar. Demons hidden in the shadows screamed and turned to ash. Energy crackled around Elara, glowing like a newborn star. Her hair lifted gently, stirred by invisible wind. Her eyes shone gold. Cale stared at her, stunned, awed, shaken. "Elara," he whispered. But she wasn't done. Marcus rose, furious, charred from the blast. He charged again. Elara stepped forward. Her voice was no longer just hers. It carried the echo of 1,000 ancestors. "I told you," she said softly, every word shaking the citadel. "You do not own me." Then she raised her hand. And the world erupted in light. The explosion of radiance lit the entire citadel like dawn breaking after 10,000 years of darkness. Marcus screamed. His voice distorted as the light slammed into him. His demonic mark writhed, cracking open and spilling black smoke. His skin blistered under the glow. "Stop!" he shrieked. "Stop! The power, you're killing me!" Elara didn't move. She simply stood, her palm glowing with golden fire, her voice quiet and steady. "No, Marcus. I am freeing myself." Another wave of light burst from her, tearing through the demonic corruption. The mark on Marcus's palm began to burn away, evaporating like ash in flame. "No, no, no." Marcus tried to shield himself, but it was useless. The demonic power began peeling off his skin like rotting armor. The creature that had marked him materialized, dragged out of Marcus's shadow by the radiance. It screeched, the sound piercing, twisting. "This woman, this bloodline is forbidden." It shrieked at Elara. Elara's gaze hardened. "You have no power over me." She lifted her hand higher. The radiant energy formed into a blade of pure light. Her voice echoed with ancestral authority. "I break the pact." She brought the blade down on the demon's mark. It didn't cut Marcus. It cut the contract itself. The demon screamed, a horrible ancient sound, as the bond shattered. The creature burst into ribbons of black flame before dissolving entirely. Marcus collapsed, powerless, gasping on the floor. His red eyes faded back to dull brown. The man he truly was came crawling back. "Weak. Cowardly. Mull." He looked up at Elara with terror. What are you?" he whispered. Elara stepped forward, the light still surrounding her like a silent storm. She stared down at him. "I am not yours," she said. Her voice was soft, but it struck Marcus like a blade. He turned away. Cale appeared beside her, eyes wide, lips parted in stunned silence. "Elara," he breathed. "Your power." Dissuade. The radiance flickered. Cale reached her before she collapsed, scooping her into his arms with desperate gentleness. "I have you," he whispered. "I have you." Her vision blurred. "The children, are they?" "They're safe," Cale said, voice strained. "Thanks to you." "Elara, you just saved the entire Dominion." Elara blinked up at him. "Cale," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." His hand cupped her cheek. His touch was cold but grounding. "You hurt no one who didn't deserve it," he murmured. "You saved us." The children rushed forward, surrounding them. Lyria hugged Elara's arm. "You glowed. Like the stories about the Light Queen." Ash's voice trembled. "That was the coolest thing I've ever seen." Arian bowed his head respectfully. "Your power is magnificent," Kilian whispered. "You're not like other mortals." Elara's breath shook. "I don't know what I am." Cale leaned closer, his forehead almost touching hers. "You are Lightbearer," he said. "You are power. You are everything he said you weren't." Marcus groaned on the floor. Cale turned sharply. His shadows swarmed, binding Marcus with dark tendrils. Guards arrived, armor shining, fangs bared. "Remove him," Cale commanded. "He is not welcome in my realm." Marcus screamed as the guards dragged him away. "No. Elara. Elara, please. I can change. I can." Elara didn't look at him. For the first time in her life, his voice meant nothing. When Marcus's shouts faded into the distance, Cale returned to her side, kneeling on one knee, still cradling her gently. "Ilara," he said softly, "you were magnificent. But you used too much magic too soon." Her eyelids drooped. "Will I be okay?" "Yes," Kale said quickly. "But you must rest." He lifted her into his arms again. The children gathered close as he carried her through the citadel halls. Ilara leaned weakly against his chest. "I'm sorry." Kale's voice broke for the first time. "Don't ever apologize for surviving." He pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, his lips cool against her heated skin. "You are safe now," he whispered. "And you belong here." Ilara finally let the darkness take her, surrounded by the only people who had ever truly protected her. The Emperor, the children, and the power inside her that had finally awakened. When Ilara awoke again, the world felt fuzzy, soft around the edges, warm and humming like a distant lullaby. Her eyelids fluttered open, and she found herself lying in a different chamber entirely. The bed was enormous, draped in black silk threaded with silver. The air smelled faintly of moonflower petals. Golden light drifted lazily in the air like dust motes, residual energy from her awakening. She tried to sit up. Pain shot through her chest. Not sharp pain, but an ache so deep it felt carved into her bones. Her magic, newly awakened, had drained nearly everything inside her. She pressed a hand to her collarbone. The mark there glowed softly, no longer a sealed prison, but a living emblem of power. It pulsed faintly, as if breathing with her. "Ilara!" Kale stood beside the bed, his voice unusually fragile. For the first time, she saw the look of a king undone. His usually immaculate hair fell in disarray over his forehead. His armor was gone, replaced by a simple dark robe that rested loosely around his shoulders. Shadows clung to him desperately, reacting to his agitated emotions. He didn't come closer, as if afraid touching her might break her again. "Kale," she whispered, Did I hurt anything? Anyone? The only thing you harmed," Kale said quietly, "was a monster." He moved toward her slowly, as if approaching something sacred. When he reached her bedside, he sank into a low chair and simply looked at her. "You nearly burned yourself empty," he murmured. "Radiance magic is powerful, overwhelming. If you had tried to release a moment more," he exhaled shakily, "I would have lost you." Her heart squeezed. "You didn't lose me," she said softly. "I almost did," Kale insisted. His silver eyes glowed brighter. "I felt the citadel shaking. The ward screamed. And when I found you, Ilara, your body was collapsing under what you unleashed. Your pulse nearly stopped." His hand trembled slightly, and she realized he wasn't furious. He was terrified. Terrified for her. "I'm here," she whispered, reaching out. Kale stared at her hand for a long moment. Then his own slid into hers, cool against her warm skin. Silence wrapped around them, quiet, thick, full. Ilara swallowed. "What happened after I collapsed?" Kale straightened. "The Senate witnessed everything," he said darkly. "Your light destroyed the demon's influence. It gave them proof of who you are." "Proof?" she echoed. Kale nodded. "The sigil on your collarbone matches ancient records. Records of the light-bearer queen, Seraphina. The woman who brought peace between her people and mine thousands of years ago." He paused. "You are her descendant." Ilara's breath stilled. Kale continued, voice low and careful. "Many nobles now understand you are not a threat, but a prophecy fulfilled." His gaze hardened. "But not all of them welcome this truth. Some see your power as a challenge." A cold shiver ran down her spine. "A challenge to what?" "To me," Kale said simply. She blinked. "To you." He lifted her hand gently, brushing his thumb across her knuckles. "They think you will take the throne," Kale murmured. "Or that I will place it at your feet." Her cheeks warmed. "I don't want a throne. I don't want power. I didn't ask for any of this." "I know," Kale said softly. "But the world doesn't listen to what we want." only to what we become. Before she could speak again, the door flew open. The children rushed in all together, nearly tripping over each other. "Ilara!" Lyria squealed. "You're awake!" she yelled. "I knew it," Kilian said smugly. Arian looked relieved but tried to hide it behind a serious expression. "We brought you fruit." The children piled around her bed, climbing up carefully, curling around her like small protective wolves. Kale rose, stepping back to give them room. Ilara's heart softened. "You all okay?" she asked. Ash puffed his chest. "Of course. We're used to danger." Lyria shook her head. "I was scared." Ilara stroked the girl's hair gently. "I was too." Arian stepped closer. "We want to train with you when you're better. You're magic." It was incredible. Ilara laughed weakly. "Let me learn how to stand up first." But their admiration, so pure, so bright, filled the room like warm sunlight. Kale watched them with something soft in his eyes. Then he cleared his throat. "Ilara needs rest," he said quietly. But none of the children moved. Lyria curled against Ilara's side. "We can rest too," Kale sighed. Something told Ilara this was a battle he rarely won. She smiled weakly. Kale looked away, shaking his head in defeat. But a moment later he spoke again, voice low, almost hesitant. "Ilara," he murmured, "I need to ask you something." She blinked up at him. "What is it?" Kale's silver eyes searched hers, intense and vulnerable all at once. "Do you trust me?" he asked softly. Her breath caught. Did she? She thought of Marcus, of the cold, of this citadel, of the children, of Kale carrying her, protecting her, standing between her and death. "Yes," she whispered. "I trust you." Kale's expression flickered, some emotion he tried to hide but failed. "Good," he murmured. Because trust was only the beginning. A full day later, Ilara was strong enough to walk. The citadel buzzed with tense energy. Runes glowed, shadows whispered, and guards patrolled in doubled numbers. Everywhere Ilara went, people bowed. They stared too long, whispered too quietly, watched her with a mix of awe, fear, and curiosity. She hated it. She wanted to disappear. But the moment she stepped into the grand hall, she realized she would not be allowed to. The entire dark court was gathered. Nobles in towering collars, shimmering black robes, eyes glowing with power. Kale stood at their center, imposing and cold, but he turned at her arrival. "Ilara," he said, voice wrapping around her like velvet. "Come." Whispers rippled across the hall. "That's her. The mortal. The light-bearer. She destroyed the demon. She might destroy more. Is she dangerous? Is she the prophecy?" Ilara swallowed, stepping beside Kale. He placed a hand lightly on her lower back. Not a claim, but a reassurance. Presence. A warning. A woman stepped forward from the crowd. Her long silver hair shimmered like moonlit waterfalls. Her gown clung like liquid shadow. Her beauty was sharp. Lady Vishara, one of Kale's most influential nobles. "Ilara win," Vishara said, dipping her head slightly. It was not a bow of respect. It was a bow of calculation. "You have shaken the foundation of our realm." Ilara held her ground. "I didn't intend to." "Intention," Vishara replied, "is irrelevant. Power is what matters." Kale stepped half a pace forward, voice cold. "Speak your point, Vishara." Vishara's eyes flicked toward Ilara. "We have lived in balance for centuries," she said. "Shadowborn ruling the night. Mortals living in their world. And now a mortal brings radiance magic into the heart of our dominion." Her tone sharpened. "A power that once rivaled ours." Another lord stepped forward, a tall man with eyes like red embers. "Light-bearer power is unpredictable," he growled. "We do not know if she will lose control again. What if she destroys the citadel next time?" A murmur spread. Kale's shadows rose at once. "You will not speak of her as a threat." "But she is one," the Lord insisted. "Your children stood before her radiance." Their skin could have burned. They were unharmed, Kale snapped. How long until they're not? The man countered. A chill swept the hall. Ilara's pulse quickened. She didn't want to be the cause of fear. She didn't want to be a danger. She opened her mouth, but Kale spoke first, voice steady and sharp. She is under my protection. She is of my house. Gasps echoed. The nobles stiffened. Vishara's gaze sharpened into steel. Your house. You claim her. Kale's jaw flexed. I do. Ilara's heart lurched. He wasn't speaking romantically. Not politically. Not even personally. He was declaring something ancient. Binding. A vow older than the Dominion. House rights. Ilara whispered. Kale. You didn't have to. Yes, he said softly, eyes flicking to hers. I did. The hall erupted again. Shock, panic, anger, disbelief. Lady Vishara's expression darkened like a storm cloud. If you bind her to your house, Emperor, she said slowly, then she becomes more than a guest. Kale said nothing. She becomes a political force. Still nothing. She becomes part of the imperial line. The crowd gasped. Ilara's blood froze. Vishara's voice dropped to a low whisper. That makes her a future queen. Silence. Heavy. Electric. Ilara staggered back, breath shaking. I didn't agree to any of that. Kale turned to her, eyes softening instantly. Ilara, he murmured so quietly only she heard him. I did not bind you. I only declared protection. They are twisting my words. She stared up at him wide-eyed. Then he faced the court again. She is not queen, he said sharply. She is not a threat. She is recovering. She will remain in the citadel under my guardianship until we understand her power fully. But she is a threat, someone shouted. She is the prophecy, another yelled. She could destroy us all. She could destroy him. No light-bearer should ever stand beside the emperor. The last one tried to unite our realms. Remember how that ended? Chaos exploded. Ilara stepped backward, trembling, the pressure overwhelming. Kale's shadows surged around him like a storm. Enough! The hall fell instantly silent. Kale's gaze swept across the room with icy fire. She stays, he said coldly. She is protected. She is not to be touched. He paused. And anyone who believes otherwise may challenge me. A murmur of fear swept through the nobles. No one challenged the Shadow Emperor. No one and survived. Ilara's heart pounded. This wasn't just protection. This was war. And she was the spark. Kale turned to her, lowering his voice to a whisper. I'm sorry, he murmured. But they needed to know. Ilara hugged herself, trembling. Know what? Kale's eyes softened, warm and fierce at once. That you belong here, he said quietly. That you are not alone. That they must go through me to reach you. The room watched them, breathless. Ilara swallowed hard. Fear swirled inside her. Confusion. Power. But beneath it all, hope. Something new blossomed inside her. Something terrifying. Something powerful. Something inevitable. And when she met the Emperor's eyes, she knew. This was only the beginning of the storm. If this chapter left you breathless, don't stop here. Hit like to keep the story alive. Subscribe so you never miss the next twist. And turn on all notifications. Because things are about to get darker, deeper, and far more dangerous. Drop a comment below. What do you think Ilara's next move should be? Your idea might shape the next chapter. And as always, stay sharp, stay curious, and step carefully. The shadows are watching.